And here's more on how Texas students are making gains since the pandemic. According to the nonprofit think tank Texas 2036, students are doing well in reading, but math continues to fall below the strong gains made prior to COVID. Here to discuss this further is Lynn Pruneda. She's a senior policy advisor for education at Texas 2036. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, an important issue. I know that you guys have been studying this closely. I mean, how bad was the COVID learning loss overall?
It was bad. It was bad in both reading and in mathematics. On the graphic, you saw that we had a precipitous decline in both subjects. However, Texas students are resilient and they've recovered to a higher level than they were in the pre-pandemic in reading, but they've still got a long way to go in mathematics.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. We could bring that graphic back up just to kind of show that. Where are we in terms of kind of the recovery, not only just those subject areas, but are you looking at other areas as well?
We've seen no other subject has recovered as quickly as reading has, but no other subject is as slow to recover as mathematics at the same time. So we've seen some delay in recovery in STEM generally, so among the sciences and the history, some delay as well. But even with reading, it's important to remember and conceptualize the fact that only 52% of students in Texas can read on grade level.
Wow.
So that means that 48% of our kids in public schools today are not reading in a way that prepares them for success in the next grade, and that is concerning. It doesn't matter if we're beating pre-pandemic performance or not.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to that, I mean, what more needs to be done to ensure kids are back on track before the pandemic hit, but just on track in general, it sounds like.
Yeah, so there's a lot that can be done, but most of it is around holding the line on what the legislature has already done. So the legislature made foundational and transformative reforms to the school finance system in House Bill 3 back in 2019. They also invested in a lot of high quality instructional practices in the last session, and they just need to hold the line on a lot of those reforms and give them time to work themselves out. One of the other really cool things that the legislature did was also fundamentally change the STAR exam. And so in changing the STAR exam, they're more closely making it mirror the classroom experience. You know, the legislature has put in $70 million into the redesign and also over 5,000 teacher hours. So it's Texas teachers coming together with the Texas Education Agency and making the exam look like what instruction actually is in the classroom.
You know, there's so many complaints over the STAR exam that we hear time and time again from parents, from teachers. I mean, with the changes that have been made, how beneficial do you think it is in terms of evaluating classrooms?
So I do believe that the STAR exam is beneficial in evaluating instruction in Texas schools, because think about it. If you're trying to lose weight and you go and weigh yourself on a scale, you don't blame the scale for the fact that you might have gained a few pounds because of COVID. So we shouldn't blame the STAR exam for the fact that our students can't read. What's actually most likely the problem, and a lot of the data is suggesting, is that kids aren't being given grade level instruction in Texas classrooms. And so let's say you're a parent and your kid brings home just solid A's and B's every single 6 weeks, but then all of a sudden they can't read according to the STAR exam. That's not the STAR exam's fault. That's the fact that I think 4 in 10 minority students are never given grade level work in a classroom, according to some studies.
Lastly, I mean, were there any upsides to the adjustments that were made during COVID? I mean, we talk about the virtual learning and some things that might have been beneficial, or new ways of kind of looking at how kids are being taught.
Yeah, definitely. There were a lot of there were some bright sides in COVID. I won't say a lot of bright sides with COVID.
I don't think anybody would.
One of the bright sides, though, was the fact that the state upscaled considerably our technology.
Yeah.
And so we managed in a lot of our districts to get one-to-one. So, every kid has some type of device that can help aid in instruction, whether it's an iPad or a Kindle or whatever it is. And so in doing that, that allows us to transform instruction to have better, higher quality curricular materials, and then also continue to make the STAR digital, which actually is part of the core of the strategy of making it look more like classroom instruction.
Yeah, a lot of good points there. Lynn Pruneda of Texas 2036. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.